There is no such thing as real death. There is only the illusion of death, which is just temporary unconsciousness. When we're unconscious, we're in effect dead. It's like being asleep or in a trance. And the remedy for awakening from it is to become or return to being centered. That was the purpose of being centered or balanced in the beginning, and that infinitely continues to be its purpose. To illustrate, let's turn the evolutionary clock back to our embryonic stage. In the beginning, life existed, and we were it. We were alive, but not aware of it, like most of us are right now. We were as if in a deep sleep where all our vital functions continue to operate and develop without conscious involvement. The time would come when we would awaken to this wonderful fact of life's existence, but first certain conditions would have to mature or evolve. We were like a seed which inherently contained the complete blueprint of what we'd become, but in order to germinate and bloom to that potential, we must first be exposed to the right mixture of nourishing soil, sun, and water. Our goal and creative task, then, as a budding young organism, would be to somehow evolve those conditions which would allow our consciousness to awaken. The main problem, or rather the catch to overcome in accomplishing this marvelous goal, will have to do with a certain law of relativity or relationship. This law says that all personal knowledge is not absolute, but relative, meaning that we can't know anything unless in relation to its opposite. The opposite provides the necessary contrast to make a thing stand out and be noticed. It gives a thing context. Opposites act like mirrors that reveal each other's presence. For example, we wouldn't recognize or appreciate pleasure if there was no experience of pain. Pleasure would be totally taken for granted, wouldn't it? Pain is the very thing that makes pleasure so pleasing and sought after. Here we see that pain not only opposes pleasure, but complements it as well. They are two necessary sides of the same coin, the same mind. Whenever there is sameness, we fail to notice. We can't discriminate. A white polar bear lying in the snow is virtually invisible. We don't notice the hairstyle of a person we see every day until it's been changed. We don't notice the homes on our street because the sameness of the scene has dulled our awareness. It's only when a house has been repainted or removed that we realize it had ever existed. So it is contrast that stimulates awareness. Similarly, we wouldn't know day is day unless it alternated with night. Wouldn't know cold unless there was hot to compare it with, and so on with all the pairs of opposites, including life and death. And there was our problem, that in order to know life, we'd have to know death. What to do? It seems illogical, contradictory, paradoxical. When death is reached, it would seem too late to experience life, because then we'd be dead. That is, unless we somehow came to life at the point of death, which is exactly what we did. There's a split moment during the life-to-death transition when this law of relationship is fulfilled and an awakening of consciousness occurs. It is that split second when life is leaving but has not yet left, and when death is approaching but has not yet arrived. In between them is a minute crossover point, a point of transcendence, a paradoxical moment when there is neither life nor death, and at the exact same time there are both life and death. They overlap or superimpose each other. so that each contains the character of the other at the same time. It's like a composite, a trick photograph that's produced by overlapping different negatives. Or it's like a person straddling the borderline between two states, whereby he's at the same time in both states and in neither state. He's centered or poised between them, neutralized. It's a subtle moment of very short duration, like the moment between the in-breath and out-breath, or like the moment when a ball thrown into the air is no longer rising but has not yet begun to fall. It's simultaneously not rising and not falling, and at the same time it is rising and is falling. It's balanced in the middle, relaxed between the up and the down, seeming to transcend the law of gravity, like planets floating in the sky. The ball has attained to a state of equilibrium. The centrifugal force which threw the ball up is now equal to the gravitational force which would bring it down. The ball has now transcended time and space. It's neither in the past nor the future. It's neither moving nor still, neither up nor down. It is in this vacuum, this void, this state of perfect balance or neutrality, that awakening of consciousness can, did, and continues to occur. The problem to overcome, then, was that real death was not a very practical or even possible device to use as an opposite or mirror through which to know we were alive. The solution became this: create the illusion or effect of death. This could be accomplished by creating a universe with a system of relative equilibrium, as described above, but on an ongoing, continuous basis instead of for just a split second. In other words, we'd be continuously and infinitely alive, conscious of it, and blissful about it as a result. In the beginning, we didn't have a physical body, at least not one as dense as we have now. At that time, we consisted of a fine, ethereal substance of incredible malleability. Gold, for instance, is so ductile that an ounce of it can be drawn into a strand of wire over a mile long. But the essential substance of our being is so exquisitely fine that a dot less than the size of the period at the end of this sentence was drawn into a single unbroken line that filled up all space in the entire universe, like water fills all nooks and crannies of the ocean. When we were just a dot beginning to expand out of ourself to begin construction of a relative centered universe, we quickly realized we could conserve energy by moving in an up and down wave-like pattern instead of in a straight line. We expanded in one direction, then rested an equivalent period in the opposite direction. We expanded and relaxed, expanded, relaxed. The opposites of movement and rest perfectly complemented each other. But the more wonderful thing about this strategy was that we moved during the relaxation part of the cycle and relaxed during the movement part. It wasn't that we moved then rested, we did it simultaneously. The gravity of the down movement built up so much momentum, like a speeding roller coaster, that instead of stopping at the bottom, it just barreled up to the peak of the next cycle, where gravity pulled it down again to repeat the process infinitely. The centrifugal push of the up movement perfectly balanced the gravitational pull of the down rest. We vibrated forward like a fish wiggles forward. We were a perpetual motion machine, an incredibly efficient system of simultaneous movement and rest that allowed us to fill up the entire universe without effort or drain of energy. We were energy itself, life itself. For an indeterminate period afterward, we just moved about in a chaotic manner, in, around, and through ourselves like dough in a gigantic slow-motion mixing machine, until all of a sudden we formed ourselves into a state of perfect equilibrium, in which we became like the 0 point at the center of a balance scale, where all the influences on our left became equal to all those on our right, balancing out the effects of each other in the process. We took up the whole universe, yet it was like we weren't there at all. Our weight balanced itself right out. We were so equally balanced, so equally opposed, so equally distributed, that we became, in effect, totally invisible, totally neutralized, totally centered. Every this canceled every that. A surplus here balanced a shortage there. An action here caused a reaction there. Every cause produced an effect, and every effect had a cause. Every giving received, and every taking diminished. It was one unified, balanced, interconnected, interrelated, harmonious whole. And at the center of it all, at the heart of it all, poised among all opposing influences, in a state of perfect neutrality and freedom and bliss, was where we were. At that moment, consciousness dawned on us. We awoke. For a while we just remained still, as when we sometimes awaken from a deep sleep and don't quite realize it immediately, but just stare out blankly for a few seconds before knowing, oh, I'm awake. We looked out with eyes of awareness now open and realized we were alive, that we were living, that life was happening, and it was happening through us. We were the medium of life, and simultaneously a witness to it as well. Self-conscious. And because we're all there was in the universe, our perception was all-pervasive and all-knowing, omniscient. We were as if made of the purest crystal, seeming not to be there at all, yet present everywhere. We were at once on the outside looking in and on the inside looking out. At once the object and the subject. At once the beginning and the end. For a sense of this experience, imagine yourself standing on a vast grassy plain. All around you, for as far as the eye can see, there's only level, plush grass, meeting a wide-open, cloudless blue sky at a huge circular horizon, like being in the top half of a great blue bubble. Now, while remaining alert and fearless, allow the entire ground you're standing on to completely disappear, so that the bottom half of the blue bubble meets the top half, with you just floating in the middle of a peaceful sea of blue. The sky is no longer just up, but is now everywhere. It's all around you. You are now in the sky. Again, while remaining alert and fearless, allow your entire physical body to disappear, so that all remains is pure, impersonal awareness. The final umbilical cord has been severed. There are no more boundaries, no more separations or distinctions. You are no longer in the sky. Now you are the sky. There's no difference between you and the sky. You become one with it, one with all that exists. To the knowledge that you are alive, you could only respond with the love and bliss whose glow lovingly pervaded and characterized the entire universe. Oh, the wonder and beauty of it, the utter glory of it. I am alive. I am a living thing. The great mirror has folded into, revealing that I am.